The rain hammered against the glass windows of Montgomery Pharmaceuticals' downtown headquarters as Lily Lancaster gripped the steering wheel of her second-hand Honda Civic, ignoring the check engine light that had been glowing for 3 weeks now. She didn't have time for car problems, didn't have money for repairs, and absolutely didn't have patience for the entitled CEO who'd summoned her to his office at 7 in the evening like she had nothing better to do than answer to corporate overlords. Her phone buzzed in the cup holder. Mom. Again. Lily let it go to voicemail, guilt churning in her stomach alongside the granola bar she'd eaten for lunch. She knew exactly what the message would say. The medical bills were piling up. The insurance company had denied another claim, and her younger sister, Emma, needed new medications that cost more than Lily's monthly rent. The same conversation they'd had every day for the past 8 months, ever since her mother's multiple sclerosis diagnosis had turned their world upside down. She parked in the visitor lot, grabbed her worn leather portfolio, and sprinted through the downpour toward the gleaming tower. The security guard waved her through with barely a glance, and she took the elevator to the 23rd floor, her sneakers squeaking against the polished marble as she approached the executive suite. Miss Lancaster. A sharp-looking woman in her 50s glanced up from behind a mahogany desk. Mr. Morgan is expecting you. Go right in. Lily pushed through the heavy door and stopped short. The office was enormous, all floor-to-ceiling windows and minimalist furniture that probably cost more than her annual salary. But it was the man standing by those windows, silhouetted against the stormy skyline, who made her breath catch. He turned, and she found herself looking at someone who couldn't have been more than 35, with dark hair that was slightly too long to be corporate standard and gray eyes that seemed to see straight through her defensive posture. Franklin Morgan. The CEO who'd taken over Montgomery Pharmaceuticals 2 years ago and turned it from a struggling mid-sized company into a powerhouse that actually seemed to care about patients over profits. Miss Lancaster. His voice was deep, warm, nothing like the cold businessman tone she'd expected. Thank you for coming on such short notice. I didn't realize I had a choice, Lily said, more sharply than she'd intended. Your email said it was urgent. Something that might have been amusement flickered across his face. Please sit. Would you like coffee, water? I'm fine. I'd just like to know why you called me here. She remained standing, clutching her portfolio like a shield. If this is about the Henderson report, I already explained to my supervisor that the delays were due to missing data from. This isn't about the Henderson report. Franklin moved away from the windows, gesturing to one of the leather chairs facing his desk. Though I did read it. Excellent work, by the way. Your analysis on the patient outcome data was exactly what we needed. Lily blinked. Then what is this about? Please sit. This conversation might take a while. Against her better judgment, she sat. Franklin settled into the chair beside her rather than behind his desk, which somehow made everything feel more uncomfortable. He was too close, too casual, and he smelled faintly of cedar and something expensive she couldn't identify. I've been reviewing personnel files, Franklin began, looking at our data analysts. Your work has been outstanding since you started here 9 months ago. You're thorough, creative, and you ask questions no one else thinks to ask. Thank you, but I want to offer you a position on my personal team. You'd be working directly with me on strategic initiatives, analyzing market trends, patient outcomes, research directions. It would mean longer hours, but the salary would be substantially higher. Lily's heart jumped. Higher salary. The words echoed in her mind like a prayer answered, but she forced herself to stay calm, to think clearly. How much higher? Double your current pay, plus benefits and performance bonuses. The air left her lungs. Double. That would mean she could actually help her mother, could get Emma the tutoring she needed to keep up with school while handling her own health issues, could maybe even fix her stupid car and stop worrying every time she turned the ignition. What's the catch? She asked, because nothing in her life came without strings attached. Franklin leaned back, studying her with those unsettling eyes. No catch. I need someone with your skills. Someone who sees beyond the numbers to the real people affected by our decisions. And you determined all that from some reports. I determined that from watching you argue with the ethics board last month about patient access programs. You made 3 vice presidents uncomfortable and didn't back down once. Heat crept up Lily's neck. That meeting had nearly gotten her fired. I was out of line. You were right. Franklin's voice was firm. And we implemented your suggestions. Patient enrollment in our assistance program increased by 40%. She stared at him, trying to reconcile this version of a CEO with every corporate horror story she'd ever heard. Why do you care? Most executives just want numbers that make shareholders happy. Most executives haven't watched their sister die because she couldn't afford her medications. The words hung in the air between them, raw and unexpected. Lily saw something flicker in Franklin's expression, old pain, carefully controlled but never quite forgotten. It made him suddenly, startlingly human. I'm sorry, she said quietly. I didn't know. Not many people do. He straightened, the vulnerable moment passing. So, will you take the position? Lily wanted to say yes. God, she wanted to say yes so badly it physically hurt. But the practical part of her brain, the part that had learned not to trust good things because they always came with hidden costs, held her back. I need to think about it, she said. This is a big decision. Franklin nodded, standing. Of course, take the weekend. But Lily. He said her name like he'd been using it for years, comfortable and familiar. For what it's worth, I think you'd be exceptional in this role. She stood as well, suddenly aware of how much taller he was, how his presence seemed to fill the space without overwhelming it. I'll give you an answer Monday. That's all I ask. He extended his hand, and when she took it, his grip was warm and solid. Drive safely. The storm's getting worse. The weekend passed in a blur of debates with herself, phone calls with her mother, and research into Franklin Morgan's background. What she found surprised her. He'd started as a research scientist before going into business, had founded his first company at 25, and sold it for enough money to never work again. Instead, he'd taken over struggling pharmaceutical companies and transformed them, always with the same philosophy. Patients first, profits second. There were profiles in business magazines, interviews where he spoke passionately about drug accessibility and research ethics, even a few charity galas where he appeared alone, never with dates, despite being what the society pages called one of the city's most eligible bachelors. He's single, her best friend Rachel announced on Saturday night, reading over Lily's shoulder as they sat on her apartment floor surrounded by laptop screens and wine glasses. Rich, gorgeous, and actually seems to have a soul. Are you sure this is a real job offer and not some elaborate romantic gesture? It's a job, Lily said firmly. And even if he is single, I'm not interested in workplace romance. Since when are you interested in any romance? You haven't dated since Brian. Brian was 2 years ago, and we both know why that ended. Lily closed her laptop with more force than necessary. Besides, I don't have time for relationships. Between work and helping Mom, you can't put your life on hold forever. I'm not putting it on hold. I'm prioritizing. She refilled her wine glass. And right now, the priority is taking this job, making more money, and helping my family. Romance doesn't factor into the equation. Rachel gave her a look that said she didn't believe that for a second, but dropped the subject. They spent the rest of the evening watching terrible movies and pretending Lily's mind wasn't circling back to gray eyes and an unexpected moment of vulnerability in a corner office. Monday morning arrived cold and clear. Lily wore her best suit, the navy one she'd splurged on for job interviews, and arrived at Franklin's office at 8 sharp. His assistant smiled at her like they were in on some secret together and ushered her right in. Franklin was on the phone but gestured for her to sit. She tried not to eavesdrop, but his voice carried, discussing something about clinical trial protocols and FDA approvals with an ease that suggested he actually understood the science, not just the business side. "Sorry," he said, ending the call. "Crisis in research and development. Nothing that can't be handled." He focused on her completely, giving her his full attention in a way that made her feel like the only person in the building. "Have you made a decision? I'll take the position." The words came out steady, confident, "But I have conditions." His eyebrows rose slightly. "I'm listening. I want my current salary doubled as you mentioned, but I also want a signing bonus, $10,000 upfront, non-negotiable." She watched his expression, waiting for the refusal, the negotiation, the corporate doublespeak about budgets and procedures. Instead, he simply nodded. "Done. Anything else?" Lily blinked. "That's it. You're not going to argue, should I? Your request is reasonable, and frankly, I was prepared to offer more. Consider it a sign of good faith." Franklin pulled out his phone, tapped something quickly. "My assistant will have the paperwork ready by this afternoon, including authorization for the bonus. You'll start officially next Monday, but I'd like you to shadow me this week if possible. Get a sense of what the role entails." "Shadow you?" Meetings, strategy sessions, site visits. Think of it as paid training. He stood, grabbing a suit jacket from the back of his chair. "Actually, we should start now. I have a meeting with our research team in 20 minutes, and your analytical perspective would be valuable." Before she could fully process what was happening, Lily found herself swept into Franklin's world. The meeting with the research team turned into 3 hours of intense discussion about drug development pipelines and patent strategies. Franklin didn't just listen, he engaged, asked pointed questions, challenged assumptions. And he kept pulling her into the conversation, asking her opinion, valuing her input even though she was technically still just a data analyst for another week. "What do you think, Lily?" he asked during a debate about prioritizing one research project over another. "From a patient outcome perspective, which direction makes more sense?" All eyes turned to her. She swallowed hard, then looked at the data they'd presented. "The second project. The market's smaller, but those patients have almost no treatment options currently. The first project is entering a crowded field. We'd be chasing profits over impact." One of the scientists, an older man with skeptical eyes, frowned. "The first project has 3 times the revenue potential." "Revenue doesn't matter if we're not actually helping people," Lily countered. "Isn't that supposed to be the point?" Franklin's smile was small but genuine. "My thoughts exactly. We're moving forward with Project 2. Rebecca, adjust the budget allocations accordingly." After the meeting, as they walked back toward his office, Franklin said quietly, "You're not afraid to speak your mind. I like that. Most bosses don't." "I'm not most bosses." She was starting to realize that. The week passed in a whirlwind. Lily shadowed Franklin through meeting after meeting, site visit after site visit, slowly understanding the scope of what he was building. He wasn't just running a pharmaceutical company, he was trying to change an entire industry's approach to patient care. And he worked harder than anyone she'd ever met, arriving early, staying late, personally reviewing research proposals that most CEOs would delegate without a second thought. But it was the small moments that surprised her. The way he remembered the names of lab technicians and asked about their families. How he bought lunch for the entire office when they hit a major milestone. The fact that he kept a photo on his desk of a young woman with his eyes the sister he'd mentioned, Lily realized. On Thursday afternoon, they were reviewing quarterly reports in his office when Lily's phone rang. "Mom, again." She silenced it, but Franklin noticed. "You can take that if you need to. It's fine. Not urgent." He studied her for a moment, and she had the uncomfortable feeling he could see right through her deflection. But he didn't push, just returned his attention to the spreadsheets. The phone rang again 10 minutes later. Then again 5 minutes after that. "Lily," Franklin said gently. "Take the call. We can continue this later." She excused herself, stepping into the hallway. "Mom, I'm at work. I can't. It's Emma." Her mother's voice was tight with stress. "She had an episode at school. They called an ambulance. I'm at Memorial Hospital now." Lily's blood went cold. "What kind of episode?" "They think it's related to her medications. The new prescription I told you about, we couldn't afford to fill it last week, so she's been stretching her old doses, and I'm on my way." Lily ended the call, her hands shaking. She had to get to the hospital. Had to make sure Emma was okay. Had to figure out how to pay for whatever this was going to cost because their insurance barely covered anything, and the deductible was astronomical. And what happened? Franklin appeared beside her, his expression concerned. "Family emergency. I have to go." "I'm sorry, I know we're in the middle of, don't apologize. You need a ride." "No, I have my car, She was already moving toward the elevator, panic overriding professional courtesy. Franklin followed. "Which hospital?" "Memorial." "Look, I'm really sorry. I'll make up the time, I promise, Lily." He caught her arm gently, stopping her. "Stop apologizing. Family comes first. Always." She nodded jerkily, stabbing the elevator button repeatedly like that would make it arrive faster. When the doors finally opened, Franklin stepped in with her. "What are you doing?" she asked, "making sure you get there safely. You're in no state to drive." "I'm fine." "You're shaking." She looked down at her hands. He was right. The elevator descended, and Lily tried to breathe normally. Tried not to think about Emma lying in a hospital bed, about her mother's stressed voice, about the mounting bills and the impossible choices they kept having to make. In the parking garage, Franklin led her to a sleek black sedan. "My car's faster, and you shouldn't be behind a wheel right now." Lily wanted to argue, but the truth was she felt like she might fall apart at any moment. She got in the passenger seat, and Franklin pulled out into traffic with smooth confidence. "Tell me about your sister," he said quietly as they drove. "Emma. She's 16. Smart as hell, wants to be a marine biologist." Lily's voice caught. "She has a genetic heart condition, needs constant medication, regular monitoring. Our insurance covers some of it, but not enough, and my mom's been sick too, so money's been tight, and you've been supporting them." It wasn't a question. Lily stared out the window at the city blurring past. "Someone has to." "What about your father? Not in the picture." "Never really was." She swallowed hard. "Emma's everything. I can't lose her." Franklin's hand found hers, warm and steady. "You won't. Memorial has excellent cardiac specialists." The gesture was so unexpected, so kind, that tears pricked Lily's eyes. She blinked them back furiously. She didn't cry. Crying didn't solve problems or pay bills or fix broken healthcare systems. They reached the hospital in record time. Franklin parked in the emergency bay, ignoring the signs, and walked inside with her like it was the most natural thing in the world. Lily found her mother in the waiting room, looking 10 years older than she had last week. "Mom." Lily hugged her tightly. "Where is she?" Is she okay? They're running tests. Her heart rate was irregular and she was dizzy, disoriented. Her mother's hands twisted together. I should have found a way to get her the new medication. I should have. This isn't your fault. Lily pulled back, making her mother look at her. We'll figure this out. How? The bills from today alone. We'll figure it out, Lily repeated firmly. Even though she had no idea how that was true, Franklin had been standing back, giving them privacy, but now he approached. Mrs. Lancaster, I'm Franklin Morgan, Lily's employer. Would it be all right if I made some calls? I know several of the specialists here. Her mother looked confused but nodded. Yes, of course, thank you. He stepped away, phone already to his ear. Lily watched him through the glass partition, watched him make call after call with an intensity that suggested this was personal, not just professional courtesy. An hour later, a doctor emerged. Emma was stable. The medication interaction had caused the episode, but they'd corrected it. She'd need to stay overnight for observation, but she was going to be fine. Relief hit Lily so hard her knees nearly buckled. Her mother was crying, happy tears this time, and Lily held her while trying to process the fact that her sister was okay, was safe, was going to be fine. Franklin reappeared. The head of cardiology is going to oversee Emma's case personally. Dr. Richardson, he's the best in the state, and I've arranged for the hospital billing department to send everything to my office. Lily's head snapped up. What? No. I can't let you. You're not letting me do anything. I'm choosing to help. His expression was gentle but firm. Consider it part of your signing bonus, or a loan if that makes you more comfortable. We can discuss the details later. Right now, your sister needs you and you shouldn't be worrying about money. I don't need saving, Lily said, the words coming out harsher than she intended. I can take care of my family. I'm sure you can, but that doesn't mean you should have to do it alone. Her mother was looking between them with open curiosity, but Lily couldn't deal with that right now. Can we see her? She asked the doctor. Of course. Room 312. But keep it brief, she needs rest. Emma looked small in the hospital bed, hooked up to monitors that beeped steadily. But her eyes were open, and when she saw Lily, she managed a weak smile. Hey, drama queen, Lily said, sitting on the edge of the bed. Trying to get out of your biology test tomorrow. It worked, didn't it? Emma's voice was hoarse but filled with the sass that meant she really was okay. Their mother fussed over her, adjusting blankets and asking questions about how she felt. Lily just held her sister's hand, overwhelmed with gratitude that she was here, alive, making bad jokes. Who's the hot guy in the suit? Emma whispered when their mother went to talk to the nurse. Lily glanced through the window where Franklin was still on his phone, pacing the hallway. My boss. Your boss came to the hospital with you, and he's paying for stuff. Emma's eyes widened. Lily, is he your boyfriend? No, absolutely not. He's being kind. Uh-huh. Because all bosses totally do that. Emma grinned despite her exhaustion. He's gorgeous. You should date him. You should rest before I tell the doctor you're well enough to go back to school tomorrow. Emma stuck her tongue out but closed her eyes, already fading. Lily sat with her until she was fully asleep, then joined her mother in the hallway. You should go home, Lily said. Get some rest. I'll stay with her tonight. Are you sure? Positive. You've been here all afternoon. Go, eat something, sleep. I've got this. After her mother left, Lily found Franklin in the waiting room. He'd loosened his tie and rolled up his sleeves, looking more human than the polished CEO she'd first met. When he saw her, he stood. How is she? Sleeping. Going to be okay, thanks to you. Lily took a breath. I don't know how to thank you for what you did today. The calls, the doctors, the bills, you don't need to thank me. Yes, I do. What you did was, her voice cracked, and suddenly the tears she'd been holding back all day spilled over. Sorry. I'm sorry. I don't usually. Franklin pulled her into a hug without hesitation, solid and warm and completely unexpected. Lily found herself clinging to him, letting herself break down for just a moment against his chest, while he held her like it was exactly where she belonged. "It's okay," he murmured into her hair. "You've been holding everything together for so long. It's okay to let go." She cried harder at that because how did he understand? How did this man she'd known for a week see so clearly through all her defenses? Eventually, she pulled back, wiping her eyes. "Sorry, that was unprofessional. Lily, your sister just went to the emergency room. Professional went out the window hours ago." Franklin's hand was still on her back, steady and comforting. "Are you staying here tonight?" She nodded. "I want to be here when Emma wakes up." "Then I'm staying too." "You don't have to. I know I don't have to. I want to." He said it simply, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. "Besides, these waiting room chairs are terrible for sleeping. You'll need someone to keep you company." Despite everything, Lily laughed. "You're kind of stubborn, you know that. I've been told." His smile was warm. "Come on. Let's get coffee from the cafeteria. It'll be horrible, but at least it'll be hot." They spent the night in an odd sort of limbo, talking quietly in the waiting room between checks on Emma. Franklin told her about his sister, Sarah, who died at 23 from complications of diabetes she couldn't manage because insulin cost more than rent. "That's when I decided to get into pharmaceuticals," he said, staring at the terrible coffee in his paper cup. "I had money from selling my first company. I could have retired, traveled, done nothing. But I kept thinking about Sarah, about all the other Sarahs out there, and I couldn't just walk away." "Is that why you took over Montgomery?" Lily asked. Montgomery was bleeding patients dry with predatory pricing. "I bought controlling interest and spent the next year restructuring everything. The board hated me at first, profits dropped, stock prices fell. But then patient outcomes improved, public perception shifted, and now we're doing better than ever." He looked at her. "Money's important, but it's not the point. The point is making sure what happened to Sarah doesn't happen to anyone else if we can prevent it." Lily felt something shift in her chest, something dangerous and complicated. This man wasn't just attractive and rich, he was genuinely good, fighting battles she'd thought no one in corporate America cared about. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for telling me that, for being here, for everything. You don't have to keep thanking me. I do, though. Because people like you don't exist in my world, people who help without expecting something in return." Franklin's eyes met hers, intense and searching. "Maybe you've been looking in the wrong places." The moment stretched between them, charged with something Lily didn't want to name. She broke eye contact first, standing abruptly. "I should check on Emma again." Emma was still sleeping peacefully, and by the time dawn broke through the windows, the doctors were already making rounds. Dr. Richardson himself came by, the renowned cardiologist Franklin had mentioned, and spent almost an hour with Emma, explaining her condition and adjusting her medication protocol with careful attention. "She's going to be fine," he assured them. "We'll monitor her for a few more hours, but I see no reason she can't go home this afternoon. I'm also setting up regular follow-up appointments, no charge, courtesy of our hospital's patient assistance program." After he left, Emma raised her eyebrows at Lily. "Courtesy of the patient assistance program, or courtesy of your boyfriend making calls?" "He's not my boyfriend," Lily hissed, but she could feel her cheeks heating. "Uh-huh, sure. That's why he stayed here all night." Franklin returned then with surprisingly good breakfast sandwiches from somewhere off-site, and the three of them ate together in Emma's room. He talked to Emma about marine biology, asked intelligent questions about her favorite species, and made her laugh with stories about a disastrous scuba diving trip he'd taken in college. Watching him interact with her sister, seeing how kind he was, how genuine, Lily felt her carefully constructed walls cracking. She didn't want this. Didn't want to feel things for a man who was technically going to be her boss, who lived in a completely different world, who probably saw her as a charity case. But her heart apparently had other plans. That afternoon, after Emma was discharged and settled at home with their mother, Franklin drove Lily back to her apartment. She invited him up without really thinking about it, too tired to maintain proper boundaries. Her place was tiny, a studio barely big enough for her bed and a small couch with a kitchen the size of a closet. She saw Franklin take it in without judgment, just acceptance. "I know it's not much," she found herself saying. "It's yours. That makes it important." He leaned against her kitchen counter. "Get some rest, Lily. Take tomorrow off. Come back Monday ready to start your new position. I'm fine. I can work tomorrow." That wasn't a request. "You've been up for over 24 hours dealing with a family crisis. Sleep." His voice was gentle but firm. "That's your first order from your new boss." She wanted to argue but couldn't find the energy. "Thank you, Franklin, for everything." He moved toward the door, then paused, turning back. For a moment he looked like he wanted to say something, his eyes searching her face. Then he seemed to think better of it and just nodded. "Lock the door behind me, and Lily." He waited until she met his eyes. "You're stronger than anyone I've ever met, but everyone needs help sometimes, even you." After he left, Lily stood in her empty apartment, feeling like her entire world had tilted on its axis. She was supposed to keep this professional, supposed to focus on the job, the money, helping her family. She absolutely was not supposed to be developing feelings for Franklin Morgan. But as she finally collapsed into bed, she couldn't stop replaying the way he'd held her when she cried, the gentle way he'd spoken to Emma, the fierce protectiveness in his voice when he'd made those calls to the hospital. "Maybe," whispered a dangerous part of her mind, not needing saving and accepting help could be two different things. She fell asleep before she could finish that thought. The weekend gave Lily time to process everything, to get her head straight before starting her new position. She spent Saturday with her family, reassuring herself that Emma really was okay, that the new medication protocol was working, that they were going to be fine. Sunday, she allowed herself to panic about starting her new job. Working directly with Franklin after everything that had happened at the hospital felt dangerous. She'd seen too much of the real him, the man behind the CEO facade, and that made it harder to maintain professional distance. Rachel came over that evening with wine and pizza. "So," she said, settling onto Lily's couch, "your hot boss paid your sister's hospital bills and spent the night with you in the waiting room. Still think there's nothing romantic going on." He was being kind. "That's his thing. He's a genuinely good person." "Lily, come on." Good people exist, sure, but they don't usually rearrange their entire schedule to stay up all night in a hospital with an employee they've known for a week. He lost his sister to a preventable medical crisis. Emma's situation probably brought up painful memories. Rachel gave her a look. "You're really going to keep denying this?" "There's nothing to deny. I work for him, that's it. But you like him." Lily took a long drink of wine instead of answering. "You do," Rachel said triumphantly. "You like him." Lily Lancaster, ice queen extraordinaire who hasn't looked at a man in 2 years, has feelings for her CEO. "Even if I did, which I'm not confirming, it doesn't matter. He's my boss. It would be completely inappropriate." Says who? People date their coworkers all the time. People date coworkers with equal power dynamics. He's literally the CEO of the entire company. There's no universe where that doesn't create problems. Rachel shrugged. "Maybe, or maybe you're just scared." That hit closer to home than Lily wanted to admit. She was scared. Scared of feeling too much, of wanting something that would inevitably blow up in her face, of letting someone in only to lose them like she'd lost her father, like she'd almost lost Emma. "I have to focus on work," she said firmly. "On making money, helping my family, building my career. Romance isn't part of the plan." "Life doesn't care about your plans," Rachel said, but she dropped the subject. Monday morning arrived too quickly. Lily dressed carefully in a professional gray suit and arrived at Montgomery Pharmaceuticals at 7:30. Franklin's assistant, Deanne, greeted her warmly and showed her to her new office, not a cubicle, but an actual office with a door and a window and furniture that matched. "Mr. Morgan wanted you close to his office," Deanne explained. "You'll be working together closely, so it made sense. There's a laptop, security credentials, and your new employee packet on the desk. He's in meetings until 9, but then you'll start with the executive briefing." Lily spent the next hour setting up her space and reviewing the materials Deanne had left. Her new salary was confirmed in writing, along with the signing bonus that had already been deposited into her account. She'd paid off half of her mother's medical bills that morning, and the relief had been almost physical. At 9 sharp, Deanne knocked on her door. "He's ready for you." Franklin's office looked different in the morning light, less intimidating and more lived in. He was reviewing something on his computer but looked up when she entered, his face lighting up with a genuine smile. "Lily, good morning. How's Emma?" "Much better. The new medication is working well." "Good. I'm glad." He gestured to the small conference table by the windows. "Let's start with an overview of current projects. I want your input on some strategic decisions we need to make this quarter." They fell into a rhythm over the following weeks. Lily's role was exactly what Franklin had described: analyzing data, identifying trends, challenging assumptions. He valued her opinion, often asking her to present findings directly to the board of directors. She worked harder than she ever had, but it was fulfilling in a way her previous position had never been. And through it all, she tried desperately to ignore the growing feelings she had for Franklin. It was impossible, though. He was thoughtful and brilliant, pushing her to think bigger while supporting her when she doubted herself. He remembered details about her life, asked about Emma's progress, brought her coffee when she was drowning in reports. He stayed late when she stayed late, often ordering dinner to the office and eating with her while they worked through complex problems. "You don't have to stay just because I am," Lily said one evening in mid-March, looking up from her laptop. Franklin glanced over from where he was reviewing contracts. "I know, but I like the company." Her heart did something complicated. "Franklin, tell me about your favorite place," he interrupted, setting down his pen. "If you could go anywhere right now, where would it be?" The question surprised her. "I don't know, I haven't really thought about it. Vacations aren't exactly in my budget." "But if they were," she considered. "The ocean, I think. Emma's always talking about marine biology, all these incredible ecosystems she wants to study someday. I'd like to see what she's so passionate about. Maybe somewhere warm where the water's clear and you can see all the way to the bottom." "The Caribbean," Franklin said thoughtfully. "Or maybe the Maldives. Have you ever been diving?" "I've never even been in a plane." He looked genuinely surprised. "Never. My family didn't take vacations. Money was always tight, even before Mom got sick. And then after college I've been working, trying to build stability." She shrugged, trying to make it sound less pathetic than it felt. "Travel's a luxury for other people." Franklin was quiet for a moment, an expression on his face she couldn't quite read. Then he said, "It shouldn't be. Everyone should get to see the ocean." The conversation shifted to other topics, but something had changed. Franklin seemed thoughtful, distracted, and when they finally left the office around 10, he walked her to her car like he'd started doing every night. Your check engine light's on, he observed. It's always on. I'll get it fixed eventually. Lily, I know. It's probably something serious. I'll take it to a mechanic this weekend. He looked like he wanted to argue but didn't. Drive safely. Text me when you get home. It had become their routine, that text. A simple home safe that she sent every night and he responded to with a good or sleep well. It was probably inappropriate, definitely blurring professional lines, but she couldn't seem to stop. That weekend, her car died completely. The check engine light had been warning her for months, and she'd ignored it too long. The mechanic gave her an estimate that made her head spin. $2,000 for repairs, or I can get you $500 for the parts, he said sympathetically. Lily sat in the garage waiting room and tried not to cry. The signing bonus was gone, spent on medical bills. Her increased salary helped, but she was still catching up on months of debt. $2,000 might as well have been $2 million. Her phone rang. Franklin. Hey, she answered, trying to sound normal. What's up? Are you busy? I have something I want to run by you, work-related. I'm at the mechanic. My car died. A pause. Which mechanic? She told him, and 20 minutes later his sedan pulled into the parking lot. Lily watched through the window as he got out, spoke briefly with her mechanic, and then came inside. Let's go, he said. Go where? I need to wait for. I talked to Joe. He's going to fix your car. I'll drive you home. Franklin, I can't afford the repairs right now. I know. That's why I'm taking care of it. Lily stood, frustration boiling over. You can't keep doing this. You've already paid Emma's hospital bills, and I know you arranged that follow-up care, and now my car. I'm not a charity case. I never said you were. Then why? Why do you keep trying to fix my problems? Franklin took a step closer, his eyes intense. Because I care about you. Is that really so hard to believe? The words hung between them, weighted with meaning neither of them could take back. Lily's heart was racing, her defenses crumbling. You're my boss, she said weakly. This is inappropriate. You're right. It probably is. He didn't move away. But I can't seem to stop caring about you anyway. Franklin, I'm not asking for anything. I'm not expecting anything. But I'm not going to apologize for wanting to help someone he stopped himself. Someone who's become important to me. Lily wanted to argue, to maintain her pride, to insist she could handle everything alone. But she was so tired of struggling, so exhausted from holding everything together with sheer willpower. Okay, she said quietly. Thank you for the car, for everything. Relief crossed his face. You're welcome. Now come on, let's get you home. They were quiet during the drive, tension humming between them. When Franklin pulled up in front of her apartment building, neither of them moved to get out. Can I ask you something? Lily said. Why me? You could help anyone. You probably have a dozen charitable foundations and causes. Why are you so invested in my problems specifically? Franklin's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Because when I look at you, I see someone fighting with everything she has for the people she loves. I see strength and intelligence and compassion, even when the world keeps knocking you down. And he turned to face her. I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since that first meeting in my office. The way you challenged me, stood your ground, refused to be intimidated. I was kind of rude, Lily admitted. You were honest, refreshing. His smile was soft. And then I saw you with your family, saw how much you sacrifice for them, and I wanted to make things easier, wanted to give you room to breathe. That's not your responsibility. No, but it's my choice. Lily's breath caught. This was dangerous territory, feelings that could ruin everything. But sitting in the car with Franklin looking at her like she was something precious, she couldn't remember why she'd been fighting so hard. I care about you too, she admitted. More than I should, more than is smart. Why isn't it smart? Because you're my boss. Because we're from completely different worlds. Because I have a million responsibilities and no room in my life for complications. What if I'm not a complication? Franklin reached over, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. What if I could actually make things better? She wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to believe him so badly, but trust was terrifying. I need time, she said, to think about this, about what it would mean. Take all the time you need, I'm not going anywhere. That night, Lily lay in bed replaying the conversation. Franklin cared about her, had feelings for her, wanted something more than just a professional relationship. And the terrifying part was how much she wanted that too, but wanting something and it being possible were two different things. She'd spent her entire life being practical, making smart choices, putting responsibilities first. Getting involved with her boss, with a man who lived in a world of wealth and power she could barely comprehend, was the opposite of practical. Rachel's words echoed in her mind. Maybe you're just scared. She was scared. Scared of wanting too much, of letting someone in, of building something that could fall apart and leave her more broken than before. Her phone buzzed. A text from Franklin. Sleep well, Lily. She stared at those 3 simple words for a long time before responding. You too. The next few weeks were complicated. Lily and Franklin worked together as closely as ever, but everything felt charged now, weighted with unspoken feelings. He didn't push, didn't ask her for answers she wasn't ready to give. But his care was evident in 1,000 small ways: the coffee that appeared on her desk, the way he deflected criticism from difficult board members, the genuine interest he showed in her ideas and opinions. You're glowing, Emma observed when Lily stopped by for dinner one evening in April. I'm not glowing. You totally are. It's the boss, isn't it? The hot one who saved my life. He didn't save your life. The doctors did. The doctors he arranged. Emma was grinning. Come on, spill. Are you dating him? No, but you want to. Lily couldn't lie to her sister. It's complicated. Life's complicated. That doesn't mean you should avoid good things when they happen. You're 16. What do you know about relationships? I know you've been alone for 2 years because you think you have to sacrifice everything for me and Mom. But Lily, we're okay now. Mom's condition is stable. I'm doing well. The money situation is so much better. You're allowed to have your own life. The words hit hard because they were true. For the first time in years, Lily wasn't in constant crisis mode. The bills were manageable. Emma was healthy. Her mother had good doctors and regular care. The immediate survival struggles had eased. Maybe she really could have something for herself. That realization terrified and exhilarated her in equal measure. The breaking point came in early May during a company retreat. Franklin had organized it at a resort 2 hours from the city, a team-building weekend for senior staff and key employees. Lily hadn't wanted to go, uncomfortable with the idea of socializing outside work, but Franklin had insisted it was part of her role. The resort was beautiful. All modern architecture nestled into wooded hills with a lake that reflected the sunset. Lily's room was nicer than any hotel she'd ever stayed in, with a balcony overlooking the water. The first evening was a formal dinner with speeches and networking. Lily endured it, making small talk with executives and trying not to feel out of place. Franklin was across the room, charming investors and board members with easy confidence, but his eyes kept finding hers through the crowd. After dinner, people dispersed to various activities: the bar, the game room, the fire pits outside. Lily escaped to the lake, needing quiet and space to breathe. She was standing at the end of the dock, watching the stars reflect on the dark water when footsteps approached. Mind if I join you? Franklin's voice was quiet. It's your company retreat. I can't really say no. You can always say no to me, Lily. He moved to stand beside her, close enough that she could feel his warmth. "Are you okay? You seemed uncomfortable tonight." "I don't really fit in with that crowd." "Neither do I, honestly." She glanced at him skeptically. "You were working the room like you were born to it." "That's just practice. Doesn't mean I enjoy it." He was quiet for a moment. "I'd much rather be here with you." Lily's heart stuttered. "Franklin, I know. You needed time. And I've tried to be patient, tried to give you space. But Lily, I can't keep pretending these feelings don't exist." She turned to face him fully, and in the moonlight, he looked almost vulnerable. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I'm falling for you. Have been falling for you since you stormed into my office and challenged every assumption I had. And I know it's complicated, I know the power dynamic is problematic, but I can't," he took a breath. "I can't keep quiet about this anymore. I'm falling for you too," Lily heard herself say, "and it scares me." "Why?" "Because people leave. Because good things in my life always come with a catch. Because I don't know how to be with someone when I'm barely keeping my own life together." Franklin reached for her hands. "Your life is together. More than you give yourself credit for. And I'm not going to leave, Lily. I'm not like whoever hurt you before." "How can you promise that?" "Because walking away from you would be like walking away from air." "Impossible." The words were so sincere, so earnest, that something inside Lily finally broke open. She'd been holding herself back, protecting herself for so long. But standing here with Franklin under the stars, feeling the way her heart raced when he was near, she realized she didn't want to protect herself anymore. She wanted to feel, wanted to risk, wanted him. "Okay," she breathed. "Okay. I want this, whatever this is, with you." Franklin's smile was brilliant. Yeah, but we need to be careful. The company, I'll talk to HR, make sure everything's documented properly. We'll be transparent about the relationship. People will think I slept my way to my position. Then they're idiots who don't know you." Franklin cupped her face gently. "Anyone with eyes can see you earned your place. But if the gossip becomes a problem, we'll deal with it together. Together." The word felt foreign and wonderful. Lily leaned into his touch, letting herself have this moment of vulnerability. "Can I kiss you?" Franklin asked quietly. Instead of answering, she closed the distance between them. His lips were soft and warm, the kiss gentle at first, then deeper as she pressed closer. He wrapped his arms around her, holding her like she was something precious, and Lily felt every defense she'd built crumble. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Franklin rested his forehead against hers. "I've wanted to do that for months." "Me too," she admitted. "Even when I was trying to convince myself I didn't." They stood there on the dock for a long time, wrapped around each other, talking quietly about everything and nothing. Franklin told her about his plans for the company, his dreams of changing healthcare accessibility. Lily talked about Emma's college aspirations, her mother's art therapy group, the small triumphs that made the struggles worthwhile. "Come back to my room," Franklin said eventually. "Not for I just want more time with you, tonight." They walked back to the resort hand in hand, and Lily felt like she was floating. Franklin's suite was massive, all windows and elegant furniture, with a separate living area that faced the lake. They settled on the couch, and he pulled her close, her back against his chest, his arms wrapped securely around her. They watched the moonlight on the water and talked until their words slowed, exhaustion catching up. "Stay," Franklin murmured against her hair. "Sleep here. I just want to hold you." Lily knew she should go back to her own room, maintain some propriety, but she was so comfortable, so safe in his arms. "Okay." She woke in the morning still on the couch, covered with a blanket she didn't remember, sunlight streaming through the windows. Franklin was still holding her, awake but relaxed. "Good morning," he said when he noticed her stirring. "Morning." She twisted to look at him. "Did you sleep?" "Some. Mostly just watched you. Is that creepy?" "A little. but she was smiling. "We should talk about what happens now. When we go back to the office, we tell HR we're in a relationship. I make it clear to everyone that your position is based on merit. And then we keep doing what we've been doing, working hard, building something good." He kissed her forehead. "The only difference is now I get to do this." "Just this," his eyes darkened. "Well, whatever else you want when you're ready." Heat curled through her stomach. "I might be ready now." Franklin's smile was slow and devastating. Yeah. He kissed her properly then, deep and claiming, and Lily let herself get lost in sensation, in the feeling of his hands on her body, in the breathless anticipation of finally letting go. They spent the morning in his suite, learning each other, trading kisses and stories and soft laughter. It felt natural, easy, like they'd been doing this for years instead of hours. And when they finally emerged for the afternoon activities, Lily felt transformed, lighter than she'd been in years. People noticed. Of course they noticed. But Franklin was true to his word, keeping things professional in public while making it clear through 1,000 subtle gestures that Lily was important to him. And when a few executives started whispering, he shut it down immediately in a staff meeting. Miss Lancaster earned her position through exceptional work and innovative thinking. Anyone who suggests otherwise can discuss it with me privately. No one took him up on that offer. The summer passed in a blur of happiness Lily had never expected to experience. She and Franklin navigated the complications of dating while working together, but it felt less like a struggle and more like an adventure. He supported her career, pushed her to take on bigger challenges, celebrated her victories. And outside of work, he showed her the world she'd never thought she'd see. Weekend trips to the coast where they walked on beaches and ate seafood. A long weekend in the mountains where he taught her to hike, and they watched sunsets from peaks that made her feel small and infinite simultaneously. He was teaching her that life could be more than just survival. Emma loved him, delighted by his stories and the genuine interest he showed in her marine biology obsessions. Her mother was more cautious, protective, but gradually warmed to Franklin as she saw how happy Lily was. "He's good for you," she said one afternoon when they were having tea. "I haven't seen you smile this much in years. I know, it still feels surreal sometimes. You deserve good things, sweetheart. You've sacrificed so much for us. I'd do it again in a heartbeat. I know you would. That's why I'm glad you finally found someone who's willing to sacrifice for you too." The words stayed with Lily, burrowing into the spaces where doubt still lingered. Franklin did sacrifice for her, rearranging his schedule to accommodate her family commitments, supporting her career, even when it meant difficult conversations with the board, loving her with a fierce consistency that still took her breath away. In August, they celebrated her 27th birthday with a small dinner party at Franklin's house, a stunning modern home on the lake that she'd been spending more and more time at. Emma and her mother were there, along with Rachel and a few close friends from work. After dinner, Franklin pulled Lily onto his private dock, where lanterns glowed softly in the growing darkness. "I have something for you," he said, pulling a small box from his pocket. Lily's heart jumped. "Franklin, relax. It's not a ring. Yet. He opened the box to reveal a delicate necklace, a small golden pendant shaped like a wave. "You talked about wanting to see the ocean, about Emma's dreams of marine biology. I wanted you to have something that represented that." Lily's eyes burned with tears. "It's beautiful. There's more." He fastened it around her neck, then pulled out his phone, showing her an email confirmation. "I booked us a trip. 2 weeks in the Caribbean, leaving in September. You, me, Emma if she wants to come. Diving, snorkeling, seeing all those ecosystems she's so passionate about." "Franklin, I can't." "Don't say you can't. You have the time off, I checked. And before you argue about money, this is my gift to you and your family. Let me give you this." Lily threw her arms around him, overwhelmed. "Thank you, God, thank you. You never have to thank me for loving you." The words hung in the air, said casually but weighted with truth. This was the first time either of them had said it directly, though it had been obvious for months in their actions. "I love you too," Lily said against his chest. "So much it terrifies me sometimes." Good terrifying or bad terrifying? Good, definitely good. He tilted her face up, kissing her deeply. "Then let yourself be terrified. Let yourself feel this. I'm not going anywhere." The Caribbean trip was everything Lily had dreamed and more. They spent 2 weeks exploring islands, diving in crystal clear water, watching Emma's joy as she swam with sea turtles and reef sharks. Franklin was patient and playful, teaching both Lily and Emma to dive, laughing when Lily panicked the first time she went under, holding her hand until she relaxed and saw the incredible world beneath the surface. At night, after Emma was asleep in her room, Franklin and Lily would sit on their balcony overlooking the ocean, talking about the future. "What do you want?" Franklin asked one night. "Long term. The big picture," Lily considered. 6 months ago, she would have said stability, enough money to support her family, maybe eventually a small house. Now, with Franklin beside her and a world of possibilities opening up, she could dream bigger. "I want to keep doing meaningful work. I want to help change the pharmaceutical industry, make it more accessible. I want Emma to go to the best marine biology program in the country. I want my mom to stop worrying about money and start enjoying her life." She paused. "And I want you, us. You have me, always." Franklin pulled her closer. "I want those things too, and I want to build something with you, Lily. Not just a relationship, but a partnership, in work and life." "Is that your way of saying you want to make this permanent, eventually, when you're ready?" "I'm not in a rush, I just want you to know my intentions are serious." Lily felt warmth spread through her chest. "My intentions are serious too." They returned from the trip tanned and happy, closer than ever. Work continued to go well. Lily had been promoted to Director of Strategic Analysis, a role that came with significant authority and respect. She was making a real difference, shaping policies that would affect thousands of patients. And through it all, Franklin was beside her, supporting and challenging her in equal measure. They'd moved in together officially in October, Lily finally giving up her tiny studio for Franklin's lake house. It felt like coming home, waking up beside him every morning, cooking dinner together in the evenings, building a life that was theirs. Emma was thriving too, her college applications looking strong, with several marine biology programs expressing serious interest. Lily's mother had started dating someone, a kind man from her art therapy group, and seemed genuinely happy for the first time in years. Everything was falling into place in ways Lily never could have imagined that rainy evening when she'd first walked into Franklin's office. It was a cold December evening when Franklin asked her to marry him. They were at home, just the two of them, sitting by the fireplace after a long day. Snow was falling outside, blanketing everything in white. "I know I said I wasn't in a rush," Franklin began, setting down his wine glass. "But I lied." Lily's heart started racing. "What?" He slid off the couch onto one knee, pulling out a small velvet box. "I want to marry you, Lily. I want to build our future officially, permanently. I want to wake up every day knowing you're mine and I'm yours." Tears were already streaming down her face. "Franklin, you don't need saving. You never did. You're the strongest, most incredible person I've ever met. But I hope you'll let me stand beside you anyway, through everything. Let me love you, support you, challenge you, marry me." "Yes," Lily breathed. "Yes, absolutely yes." The ring was beautiful, elegant but not ostentatious, exactly her style. Franklin slipped it onto her finger with shaking hands, then pulled her into a kiss that tasted like salt from her tears and promise. "I love you," he murmured against her lips. "So damn much. I love you too. I can't believe this is my life. Get used to it. You're stuck with me now." They were married in March, a small ceremony on a beach in California with their closest friends and family. Emma was Lily's maid of honor, crying happy tears through the entire service. Lily's mother looked healthy and radiant, genuinely overjoyed for her daughter. And Franklin's best friend from college, who'd flown in from London, served as his best man. "You look beautiful," Franklin said when he saw her walking down the aisle in a simple white dress, barefoot in the sand. "You're not so bad yourself," she managed, overwhelmed by the moment. The ceremony was short but meaningful, both of them writing their own vows. When it was Lily's turn, she looked into Franklin's eyes and spoke from her heart. "I spent so long thinking I had to do everything alone, that asking for help was weakness. You showed me that strength isn't about refusing support, it's about building something together that's bigger than either of us could create alone. You've given me so much love, partnership, a future I never dreamed possible. I promise to give you the same in return, every day for the rest of our lives." Franklin's vows were equally emotional, his voice breaking as he promised to love her, support her dreams, and never stop working to make the world better together. When they finally kissed as husband and wife, their friends and family cheered, and Lily felt complete in a way she'd never experienced before. The reception was joyful and intimate, full of laughter and dancing and toasts that made everyone cry. Emma gave a speech about how Franklin had become the brother she'd never had, how grateful she was that he'd come into their lives. Rachel embarrassed Lily with stories from their college days. And Franklin's best friend shared tales of his friend's scientific days, painting a picture of a man who'd always cared more about helping people than personal gain. "To Lily and Franklin," someone toasted. "Proof that the best love stories are the ones you never see coming." They honeymooned in the Maldives, 2 weeks of paradise where they did nothing but swim, eat incredible food, and enjoy being newlyweds. Franklin taught Lily more advanced diving techniques, and they explored underwater caves filled with bioluminescent algae that glowed like stars. "I could stay here forever," Lily sighed one evening, wrapped in Franklin's arms on their overwater bungalow. "We'd get bored eventually. You'd want to get back to work, change the world, true, but this is pretty perfect." "Just wait," Franklin said mysteriously. "The best is still ahead." Back home, they settled into married life with surprising ease. It felt natural, waking up as his wife, building a home together that was truly theirs. Lily kept her name professionally but added Morgan personally, liking the way it sounded. Lily Lancaster Morgan. Emma got into her top choice school, a prestigious marine biology program with a full scholarship that Franklin had absolutely nothing to do with. He insisted, though Lily suspected his recommendation letter had helped. Her mother's health remained stable, her relationship with her boyfriend growing serious. At work, Lily continued climbing the ranks, eventually becoming vice president of patient outcomes and strategy. She and Franklin made an incredible team, pushing Montgomery Pharmaceuticals to the forefront of ethical drug development and accessibility programs. Their patient assistance programs became industry-leading. Their research focused on diseases that other companies ignored because they weren't profitable enough. A year after their wedding, Lily discovered she was pregnant. The news was unexpected but joyful, both of them crying happy tears when they saw the positive test. "We're having a baby," Franklin said wonderingly, his hand on her still flat stomach. "An actual baby." "Are you ready for this?" Lily asked. "With you, I'm ready for anything." Pregnancy was challenging but wonderful. Franklin was attentive without being overbearing, supporting her through morning sickness and mood swings with patience and humor. They prepared a nursery together, painting walls and assembling furniture, dreaming about who their child would become. Emma was over the moon about becoming an aunt, already planning to teach the baby about ocean ecosystems before it could even walk. Lily's mother knitted endless tiny sweaters and blankets, her hands steady despite her condition. "Have you thought about names?" Rachel asked during a baby shower in Lily's 7th month. "We have some ideas," Lily said, "but we're waiting until we meet them." Their daughter arrived on a bright October morning, healthy and perfect and screaming her displeasure at the world. Franklin cried when he held her for the first time, this strong, capable man reduced to awed tears by 8 pounds of infant. "She's perfect," he whispered. "Lily, she's absolutely perfect." They named her Sarah after Franklin's sister, with Emma as her middle name. Little Sarah Lancaster Morgan, who had her father's gray eyes and her mother's stubborn chin. Life shifted again, reorganizing around this tiny person who needed them completely. Franklin took paternity leave, refusing to let work interfere with these precious early weeks. They stumbled through sleepless nights together, learned to decipher different cries, marveled at every small milestone. "I never knew I could love something this much," Lily admitted one night while nursing Sarah. "I thought what we had was the limit, but this, I know." Franklin was beside her, his arm around them both. "It's overwhelming, in the best way." Sarah grew quickly, a happy baby who loved being held and smiled at everyone. Emma was a doting aunt, video calling from college to check on her niece. Lily's mother visited constantly, delighted by her granddaughter. When Sarah was 6 months old, Lily returned to work part-time, gradually rebuilding her career while balancing motherhood. It was challenging, but Franklin shared every responsibility equally, never expecting her to shoulder the burden alone. "We're partners," he said simply when she thanked him for changing diapers at 3 in the morning. "In everything." 2 years later, they had a son, James, named after Lily's grandfather, with his mother's blonde hair and infectious laugh. Their family felt complete, their lake house filled with toys and laughter and the beautiful chaos of young children. Life wasn't perfect. There were hard days, struggles with balancing work and family, moments of exhaustion and frustration. But through it all, Lily and Franklin faced everything together, their love deepening with each challenge overcome. Emma graduated with honors and immediately got hired by a prestigious oceanographic institute, pursuing her dreams just like Lily had always hoped. She visited often, bringing stories of research expeditions and discoveries that made Sarah and James listen with wide eyes. Lily's mother's health eventually declined, the MS progressing despite the best medical care. She passed away peacefully one autumn evening, surrounded by family, leaving behind a legacy of strength and love that Lily vowed to honor every day. Through the grief, Franklin was there, holding Lily when she cried, supporting her through the funeral arrangements, helping Emma process the loss. They leaned on each other, their marriage proving strong enough to weather even this storm. Years passed. Sarah started school, bright and curious like her mother. James followed 2 years later, outgoing and charming like his father. The company continued thriving under their leadership, winning awards for ethical practices and patient care. On their 10th anniversary, Franklin and Lily returned to the Caribbean beach where they'd married. They walked along the shore at sunset, hands intertwined, talking about everything they'd built together. "You remember that first night in my office?" Franklin asked. "When you told me you didn't need saving," Lily laughed. "I was so defensive, so determined to prove I could handle everything alone. You could have. You're strong enough to do anything. He pulled her close. But I'm glad you let me in anyway. I am too. You didn't save me, Franklin. But you showed me I didn't have to face everything alone. That asking for help and accepting love wasn't weakness. We saved each other, he said simply. Built something neither of us could have created alone. She leaned up to kiss him, tasting salt air and promise. Here's to the next 10 years. And the 10 after that, and all the ones that follow. They stood together on the beach as the sun sank below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. Behind them were years of struggles and triumphs, love and growth, building a life that was wholly theirs. Ahead lay more challenges, more joy, more moments of simply being together. Lily thought about that rain-soaked evening when she'd walked into Franklin's office, defensive and desperate, convinced she had to handle everything alone. She'd told him she didn't need saving, and that had been true. But what she discovered was something even better than being saved, being seen, valued, and loved completely. They'd built something beautiful together. A family, a partnership, a love that had weathered every storm. And as Franklin wrapped his arms around her, Lily knew with absolute certainty that this was exactly where she belonged. Not saved, not rescued, simply loved, fully and completely, by a man who'd seen her strength and chosen to stand beside her anyway. And that, she thought as they watched the stars emerge one by one, was the greatest gift of all.